Hello everyone and welcome to Kiki Crochet. In this video tutorial we're going to learn how to crochet step by step the summer boho vest. I used a lightweight yarn which is half cotton, half acrylic and a 3.5mm crochet hook. I used a total of 3 skeins for a medium large size, and the stitch that I used is the simplest stitch that we can make with crochet. It's the fillet stitch, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Now let's go ahead and see how to start. I'm going to show the yarn that I used, my crochet hook. I'm going to show how to start the stitch from the beginning, okay, and how to work up the shawl. Then we're going to see how to separate in 3 parts our shawl to make the 2 front pieces and the back, and in the same time we're creating the armholes, okay. I also show how to make a border in the end of the video, but I frogged it because it did not look nice on my body. It added weight on my body, so you can choose to leave it as it is, as I have it as well, or you can make the border all around, okay. So let's go ahead and see how to start. The yarn that I'm going to use is Alize Cotton Gold, which is 55% cotton, 45% acrylic, and a 3.5mm crochet hook. Now, very important before we start is that we need 2 measurements. The one is the width from shoulder to shoulder, so you're going to put your measuring tape from the one shoulder to the other, and that's the width, and the arm depth. So you're going to put your measuring tape from the shoulder, the top of your shoulder, up to under your arm. So that measurement is going to be the total opening that you're going to leave for your sleeve. Okay, now let's go ahead and see how to start. Now let's go ahead and start, and I'm going to start with my beginning knot. And I'm going to start with a total of 6 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the first 2 chains are the 2 chains that my square is going to have in the bottom, okay. The 4 chains count as a triple crochet. Now wrap the yarn around twice, yarn over twice, and put your hook in the first chain that we made. Grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn through the next 2 loops, yarn through the last 2 loops. And here we have the beginning of our shawl, okay? And I've made a triple crochet in the beginning, chain 2, and triple crochet in the end. Now, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yarn over once, and turn your work. Now we're going to start row number 2, and the 6 chains that I've just made count as a triple crochet and a chain 2 space. Put your hook in the very same first stitch of the row right here and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, yarn over once, skip 2 chains from your work, 1, 2, put your hook in the 3rd chain and work 1 double crochet. Now in the 3rd chain that I've just worked, my double crochet is the triple crochet, the 4 chains of the previous row. Now I want to create my increase, so I'm going to chain 2, yarn over twice, and put your hook in the very same stitch that you just worked your double crochet and work 1 triple crochet. So yarn over through the first 2 loops, yarn through the next 2 loops, yarn through the last 2 loops. So I've started my first row with 1 square, and row number 2 has a total of 3 squares. Now we're going to start row number 3 by chaining 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm always going to start my rows with a total of 6 chains, which are always going to count as a triple crochet and a chain 2 space. Yarn over once and turn your work. Put your hook in the very first stitch right over here and work a double crochet. So by doing this is the same thing as having a triple crochet, chain 2 and double crochet in the first stitch. Chain 2, skip the 2 chains and put your hook in the double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, put your hook on top of the double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 1 double crochet. Now this is the last stitch of my row, and if you count from the bottom to the top, we've crocheted in the 4th chain. So it's the same thing as crocheting in a triple crochet. Now I'm going to work the increase, the end of the row, by chaining 2, yarn over twice, and work 1 triple crochet in the same stitch that we just worked the double crochet. Yarn through the first 2 loops, yarn through the next 2 loops, yarn through the last 2 loops. So in row number 3 we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. So in each row we're going to have 2 extra squares. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yarn over once and turn your work. Put your hook in the very first stitch and work 1 double crochet. So again, by doing this we have 1 triple crochet, chain 2 and double crochet in the very first stitch. Chain 2, yarn over once, skip 2 chains, put your hook on top of the double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, put your hook on top of the double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, put your hook in the third and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, put your hook on top of the double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2, skip 2 chains, 1, 2, put your hook in the third and work 1 double crochet. Now the increase, chain 2, yarn over twice, put your hook in the very same stitch and work a triple crochet. Grab the yarn, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn through the next 2 loops, yarn through the last 2 loops. So by doing this we have a perfect triangle. So the reason that I start and end my row with triple crochet is because if I started with a double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet, I would have a curve like this, and because it would be tight, my shawl would go inwards like this. Okay? So keep working in the same exact way. Chain 6, okay, double crochet in the same stitch. So in every row I begin with a triple crochet, chain 2 and double crochet, and end my row with double crochet, chain 2 and triple crochet. So always start with a chain of 6 and always end the row with double crochet, chain 2 and triple crochet in the same stitch. Okay, now I'm going to turn my video back on when I'm going to reach the spot where I'm going to start creating the opening for the arms. Now, when we reach that spot and we start creating the opening for the arms, that means that up to that point, that's going to be the total length of our jacket. So if you're going to, if you wanted to reach up to your butt, you're going to have to make sure that from your armpits up to your butt, you have the total length that you need. If you wanted to reach up to your knees, make sure that from the armpits up to your knees, that's the total length that we have over here. Because once we start opening for the arms, the jacket is not going to get any more longer. So once I finish and I reach the spot where I'm going to make the holes for the arms, I'm going to turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting my shawl so far, and what we really have at this point is a really wide shawl. And what I was doing as I was going through and crocheting, I was putting the shawl under my arms to see at what point on my legs it is. So at this point it has reached about my knees, and the total width is 2 meters and 4 centimeters. Okay, and the total length is 80 centimeters. Now we want two measurements that are really important to continue with the shawl to make it into a jacket. I want the measurement from shoulder to shoulder, so take your measuring tape and measure from the one shoulder to the other to see what's the total width. My measurement is 39 centimeters. And the arm depth you want to measure from your shoulder, the top of your shoulder, up to under your arm. And my arm depth is 21 centimeters. So what I want to do now is I want to separate the shawl into three different parts. The one part is going to be the one front. The other part, which is going to be 39 centimeters, is going to be the back part. And the other part is going to be the other front part of the jacket. So what I want to do is I'm going to take the total width of my shawl, which is 2 meters and 4 centimeters, and I'm going to subtract the total width from shoulder to shoulder, which is 39 centimeters. So when I do that subtraction, the result is 1 meter and 65 centimeters. So what this measurement is the two parts together, the two front parts of my shawl. Okay, because I took away the 39 centimeters, which is the back part. So I want the total measurement of the two pieces that are going to be the two front parts of my jacket. So this 1 meter and 65 centimeters is the measurement of the two front parts together. So I'm going to divide this number by 2, and the result is 82 centimeters. So each front part, I'm dividing this number by 2. Okay, and the result is 82 centimeters. So each front part of my jacket at this point where I'm going to start separating the pieces is going to be 82 centimeters. Okay, so 82 the one side, 39 centimeters the center, my back, and the other front part, the other side, is going to be 82 centimeters again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our shawl. Okay, I've already put my stitch markers because it's kind of hard to measure under the camera. So take your measuring tape from the one corner, okay, and measure your 82 centimeters, okay? My 82 centimeters from the corner are right here where I have my stitch marker. What you're going to do next is you're going to count how many stitches you have from the beginning up until right here where we have our stitch marker. So when I'm counting from the beginning, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up until my stitch marker, I had a total of 61 double crochet. So in order to have the same exact stitches on the other side as well, count from the other corner, from the other end of your shawl, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, up until you have 61 double crochet. Okay? So from the one corner to my stitch marker is going to be the one front part. This is my back, and from the one stitch marker to the other corner is my other front part. So this means that from this one stitch marker to the other, that's going to be the back of the jacket, okay? It's going to have to measure 39 centimeters, the measurement that I have from the one shoulder to the other. Okay? So from the one stitch marker to the other is exactly 39 centimeters, okay? So now from here up until I reach the total arm depth, we're going to be crocheting those three parts separately. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to put a stitch marker in the stitch before the stitch marker. Okay, so from the one corner up to this stitch marker, I'm going to make the one front part. Okay. Now on this stitch marker, I'm going to put a stitch marker on the stitch before it. So from this stitch marker up to the other corner is going to be my other front part, and the 2 stitch markers in between is going to be the back part of my jacket. So now let's start and see how we're going to crochet. We're going to make those 3 parts separately, okay? And I'm going to be crocheting up until I reach the 21 centimeters, which is my arm depth. So starting from over here, where I finished crocheting, I'm going to start in the same exact way as I was doing my rows, because I still want to keep getting this side. I want to give increases on the side, so I still have a pointy, I want to have a corner on the shawl. Okay, so I'm always going to be starting the row on the side the same way I was starting so far. So start by chaining 6. I already have 1 chain, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and turn your work. Work 1 double crochet in the first stitch. So by doing this, we have 1 triple crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet in the same stitch. Now keep working your rows the same way we were doing so far. So chain 2, double crochet on top of the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and keep working up until you reach the stitch right before the stitch marker. When I reach this double crochet over here, I'm going to turn my video on to see how to finish the row and how to start the next one. I've reached the stitch before the stitch marker, so I'm going to take out the stitch marker. I'm going to chain 2 and 1 double crochet on the stitch that I had my stitch marker. Okay, so I finished the first row for the one front part of my jacket. Okay, so now I'm going to start the next row by chaining 5, and from here on, when you're on the inside of the jacket, on this side that we're right now, you're always going to be starting your rows the same exact way we're going to start right away. So we are always going to be chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those 5 chains count as 1 double crochet and a chain 2 space. So now we're going to turn our work. Okay, because the 3 pieces of the jacket from here on are going to be crocheted separately. Okay, so I have 1 double crochet and a chain 2 space. So go right ahead on the next double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Okay, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, and keep repeating the same way we were crocheting up until now. So chain 2, double crochet on top of each double crochet, and right here in the corner, when I reach the second before the last stitch, right over here, I'm going to turn my video back on to finish the row together and start a new one. Although we're going to finish and start the same way we were doing so far on the corners of the shawl. But just in case you get confused, we're going to finish and start the new row together. Okay, I'm almost done with my row. Okay, now I'm going to chain 2. We're going to do the same exact thing, the same exact way we were closing and opening up the new row on the corners of our shawl. Okay, so chain 2, work 1 double crochet on the third chain, 1, 2, 3, 1 double crochet, chain 2, and 1 triple crochet in the same stitch to form the corner. Okay, now we're going to start the new row the same exact way we were starting every row to keep the corners of the shawl. So start by chaining 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which count as a triple crochet and the chain 2 space. Turn your work, work 1 more double crochet in the same stitch, in the first stitch of the row. Okay, so we started our row with 1 triple crochet, chain 2, and 1 double crochet. Now keep working the row the same way we're doing so far. Chain 2, 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet on top of the double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, and keep working up until you reach right over here. Okay, the stitch before the end. Once I reach this stitch, I'm going to turn my video back on to finish the row together and how to start the new row, and then from there on we're going to work off camera. I'm almost done with my row and I'm left with my last 2 boxes of this row. Okay, so this is my 1 stitch, and right here I'm going to have my last stitch for the row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 2 sorry. Now the same way we're going to finish this row and start the next row is going to be always the same way you're going to finish and start the row when you're on the inside right here on the sleeve. Okay, so chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, and see here when I stretch out the stitch, this right here is my last box. So if you recall, in the previous row I mentioned that the 5 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So chain 2, okay, skip over the first 2 chains and put your hook on the 3rd chain and work the last double crochet for this row. Okay, and see how the box right here, the chain 5, opened up and it looks like a box now. Now we're going to start the new row, and you're always going to be starting in the same exact way. So always chain 5 when you're on the inside on the sleeve over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn your work. Okay, so those chain 5 again counts as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. So skip over the first chain 2 and work a double crochet on top of the double crochet. So I've created my first box. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, so this is how you're always going to be working this side of the of your work. Okay, so keep working chain 2 and double crochet, and the corner is always going to be made in the same exact way we were doing the corner so far for the shawl. And you're going to finish crocheting. Okay, see how here it has already started to look that we're crocheting separately the piece. Okay, so keep crocheting up until when you measure from the beginning where we started up to the end, you have the total arm depth. So I'm going to keep crocheting up until it measures 21 centimeters. I'm at the 5 centimeters so far, so I need 16 more centimeters. Okay, when I finish, before I finish, I'm going to turn my video back on to finish the this part together, and then we're going to start crocheting the center part. And after we're done the center part, we're going to crochet the other side part. I've completed crocheting the one front piece of my jacket. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure from the top up to right here where I started, and it's exactly 21 centimeters. And I have made a total of 18 rows. So this means that the center, the back piece is going to be a total of 18 rows, and the other front piece is going to be made in a total of 18 rows. So this is the inside, this is the sleeve part, so this is why it's straight. And going outwards, on the outside, we still want it to look like a shawl. Okay, so we still make the increases on the corners. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish. So I've worked my last chain 2 and triple crochet in the last stitch. I've already worked my chain, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. Okay, so we finished with this part at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to work the center back piece. So this is going to be my back. From this stitch marker to the blue one. This is going to be the back part. And what I want to do is I want to turn my work so I'm seeing the wrong side of the stitches. This way, I'm going to start the new row in the same side that I started down here, but I'm also seeing the wrong side of the stitches, which helps me crochet easier. So this is the piece that we made. It's a total of 18 rows. So I'm going to take out the stitch marker and see how here where I started, I have the double crochet where I started the back piece. I have a chain 2, and in a double crochet right after the chain 2, I'm starting the back part of the jacket. So make sure you don't leave any more spaces, okay? This is how it's gonna look. So put your crochet hook in that double crochet where we had our stitch marker. And I'm going to attach yarn, and I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those 5 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space. Okay, now go ahead in the next double crochet and work 1 double crochet. Chain 2 and 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. So keep working your boxes up until you reach the stitch marker right here, right before the double crochet, before my stitch marker. I'm going to turn my video back on when I reach right over here. So we finish the first row together and start row number 2. I'm almost done with my first row. I've reached my stitch marker. I have worked my chain 2. Okay, so take out the stitch marker. I've worked 2 chains, so work 1 double crochet on top of the double crochet that we had our stitch marker. So this is the end of the first row for the back part of my jacket, because right here we're not going to crochet because this is the beginning of the other front part of my jacket. So I'm going to start row number 2 by chaining 5, and this is how we're going to start all the rows for the back part, always chaining 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and turn your work. Okay, let me untangle my yarn. Okay, so I've worked 5 chains and I turned my work. Okay, so now I'm going to work 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet. So as I've mentioned so far, those chain 5 count as 1 double crochet and a chain 2 space. Now chain 2 and double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. And keep working the row in the same exact way. And right before I reach right here where I started, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish row number 2 together, how to start row number 3, and from there on we're going to work the rest of the back part off camera. I've worked the second before last double crochet, and now I'm left with my last box over here, which is the chain 5 that I started the previous row. So now I'm going to chain 2, and in order to know where to put your hook and crochet, you can either count from the bottom to the top 3 chains. Okay, so in the 3rd chain we have our last double crochet, or you can count the 3 chains from here from the top. 1, 2, which is the chain 2 space, we never crochet into that, and if you put your hook in that 3rd chain, it's the double crochet that we want to crochet into. So I'm going to start counting from the bottom. 1, 2, 3. I like that way better. And in that 3rd chain, I'm going to work the last double crochet for this row. And if you have crocheted in the correct chain, you'll see that perfect square on the previous row. So now I'm going to start row number 3 by chaining 5, because we always chain 5 for this part of our project in order to start our rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Turn your work. Okay, and work 1 double crochet on top of the next double crochet, because what I mentioned earlier is that those first 3 chains are my first double crochet and the next 2 chains are my chain 2 space. Now again, chain 2 double crochet, chain 2 double crochet, and so on. And once you reach your last box, which is the chain 5 that we started the previous row, again start counting from the bottom, 1 2 3, put your hook in that 3rd chain, which is the last double crochet of the row, and work your last double crochet. Start the new row by chaining 5, and so on. So once I reach a total of 18 rows for the back part, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to finish the back part and how to start the other front part of my jacket. I've completed crocheting the whole back part. I've made a total of 18 rows, the same amount of rows as I did on the other side for the front piece. Okay, so I did a total of 18 rows. And what we're going to do now, see how here between the back part and the front part that we have made, we have a distance of a chain 2 space. What I'm going to do in order to finish and in order to create the sleeve opening, see here we have the sleeve opening, I am going to chain 2. So after my last row and when I have my last box completed, I am going to chain 2. Okay, and grab the other piece and put your hook on the first double crochet. So counting from the bottom, put your hook in the 3rd chain. And work a slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. So we have closed our piece and we have created the first sleeve. Okay, chain 2 space distance, chain 2 space distance between. Now what we're left to do is the other front side of our jacket. Okay, so we see that this is the good side of the stitches, so we want the wrong side of the stitches of the last row. Okay, so I want to see the wrong side of the stitches of the last row because this is how I started crocheting on the other sides, but it's easier for us to crochet on the wrong side of the stitches as well. So I'm going to take out my stitch marker. I am only going to show the beginning because the rest of it is made in the same exact way we did the other front piece. So I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to attach right over here where I had my stitch marker. Okay, so grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch and chain 5. 1 2 3 4 5. Now those 5 chains, because we are on the inside right here on the sleeve, I want to have a straight side here as well. So those 5 chains count as a double crochet and a chain 2 space, and I'm going to start crocheting from the next stitch. So double crochet in the next double crochet. Okay, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, now keep crocheting chain 2 and double crochet up until you reach the corner. The corner is going to be made in the same exact way we did on the other side, which is the same exact way we did for the whole part of the shawl. Okay, because we want to keep the increases. Once you reach here, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the triple crochet, so counting from the bottom in the 4th chain. And because we want to make the increase, chain 2 and triple crochet in the same stitch. And because we want in the next row to work an increase as well, chain 6, which count as a triple crochet and a chain 2 space, and double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, then chain 2, double crochet in the next stitch, chain 2, double crochet in the next stitch, and so on. And every time you reach here on the inside, okay, double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet on top of the last double crochet, which counting from the bottom is the 3rd chain to make your box. And always start with a chain of 5 on the inside here on the sleeve and double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, once I finish, this whole part is made in the same exact way we did the other front piece. I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to close the sleeve here as well, and how to work a few extra rows in the end to create the shoulder of our jacket. I've completed the other front part as well. I made a total of 18 rows, as I've done so far in all of the other two pieces that I've made. Okay, so I've worked my 18 rows, and after the last box that I make over here, I'm going to chain 2, and as I did on the other side, I'm going to take right here the corner stitch from the back part that I was crocheting, okay, to make the sleeve on this side as well. So counting from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, put your hook in that third chain counting from the bottom, so you're crocheting on the double crochet. Slip stitch, chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up. Okay, so we have made both of the armholes. This one is the one that we just made, and over here we have the other one. Now, because all three sides I started on the same side, and all three parts have 18 rows, I'm seeing the good side of the stitches on the one side, the back part, and the other front part. We're seeing the front, the good side of the stitches of the double crochet. So what I want to do is I'm going to turn my work so I'm seeing the wrong side of the stitches of the last row. Okay, so now we're seeing the wrong side of the double crochet now. So I'm going to attach the yarn over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a few rows, and those few rows are going to be the shoulders of my vest. Okay, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting in the same exact way we were doing all the corners for the shawl, and end the same exact way we were doing to keep the corners for the shawl. So increase in the beginning and increase in the end. So grab the yarn and pull it through the triple crochet. Okay, and as we are doing every time we were turning our work on the sides here to create the increase, I'm going to start by chaining 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and those 6 chains we have mentioned earlier as well, that count as a triple crochet and a chain 2 space. Now work one more double crochet in the same stitch. Oops. Okay. Now chain 2 and double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, so the process is the same exact way that we're doing so far. Chain 2 and double crochet, chain 2 and double crochet. And when I reach right over here where I have my first sleeve opening, I'm going to turn my video back on to see how to crochet on this spot over here, and then we're going to work the rest of the rows off camera. I'm almost done crocheting on this part of my vest. Okay, I've worked my double crochet. Now I'm left with this last double crochet, which is the same stitch that I worked my slip stitch on the previous row to join the back part with the front part and to create the sleeve opening. Okay, so I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to work 1 double crochet on top of that very same stitch that I worked my slip stitch. Okay, now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, because I've worked my chain 2, so this chain 2 is the chain 2 that's down here as well. Okay, so after the chain 2, work 1 double crochet on top of the first double crochet on the other side over here of your work. So let me redo that. Okay, so after the chain 2, work 1 double crochet on top of the first double crochet. Okay, and see over here where we work the chain 2 to join the 2 sides. Now from here on we have a square on top of that chain 2. Okay, so from here on, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet, chain 2, double crochet on top of the next double crochet. Okay, keep working the same exact way on the other joining over here for the sleeve. Again, you're going to work the same exact thing we did over here. So double crochet on top of this double crochet that we worked the slip stitch, chain 2, skip over the 2 chains that we worked to join, and go ahead on the first double crochet over here and start working double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and in the end of the row always work the increase. So we're gonna work double crochet, chain 2 and triple crochet in the last stitch of the row. So from here on I'm gonna work off camera a few more rows. I don't know exactly how many because I've never made such a vest before. So once I finish my rows off camera, I'm gonna turn my video back on to see how to continue. I'm gonna mention how many rows I've worked. Okay, and what's very important to remember is that up until we finish working the extra rows now, we always want to keep the corners on the one side and on the other as we were doing from the beginning of the shawl. Okay, so once I work my rows, I'm gonna turn my video back on. I've completed crocheting my rows after the closing of the sleeves, and I worked a total of 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those 5 rows sit exactly on my shoulder, and the jacket for my body is just right. Okay, so as you go through and crochet those rows, you can go ahead and try on your jacket, your vest, and see if it fits correctly on your body. Okay, now in order to finish, what I'm gonna do is, after the last corner of the increase that I've worked right over here, I am going to chain 1, cut the yarn, pull the loop, and tighten up.